Welcome to this week's episode on the blog From My Perspective, Taking Theory to Practice. I am your host, Veronica Green, and I support early childhood educators with professional development and resources that help you simplify your planning, understand behaviors, and build trusting relationships with children, families, and your fellow educators, doing all of this through the magic of loose parts play. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about another kind of buzzword that we might have been hearing. Last week we talked about curiosity and what it actually is and why we need it. And so this week we're going to be looking at intelligent materials and how they can drive curiosity. So there's lots of different buzzwords for the kinds of materials that we have in here in our programs, and intelligent materials is one of them. So by the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly what they are, why we need to use them, and how they can drive curiosity in your settings. So what are intelligent materials? Simply put, they're open-ended resources. They can be natural or recyclable. Another way of putting them is loose parts, my favorite thing to talk about. So loose parts are anything that can be manipulated and changed and transformed and moved around, and the possibilities are limitless when it comes to loose parts. It's more looking at what the item could be than what the item actually is. So I wanted to share this quote with you that comes from the video, The Wonder of Intelligent Materials, that I've been able to watch through Portland Children's Museum and Opal School. So the quote is, "Materials have voices of their own, as do children. When they speak to each other, the conversation can be surprising, unexpected, and profound." So this is a beautiful quote that can sum up what intelligent materials are, their open-endedness, their possibilities, and why and how they're so important with children as well, and what can happen. So just an example of what intelligent materials might be. So just a few examples is like cardboard tubes and boxes, light, paper, exploring what happens when you transform like chalk and you smash it up, paint, clay, wire, looking at different liquids and water and food coloring. Honestly, intelligent materials is anything and everything, anything that can be open-ended and that is provokes what could be and not what it's telling you to do with a set of instructions. So why do we need these materials in our program? There are so many reasons, but this is just a couple to get your creativity and reflection kind of going here. So they engage the whole child. And if you've listened to me talk before, I love talking about holistic learning experiences and making sure we're engaging all of the senses and the learning domains at the same time. And that's what intelligent materials do. They provide playful inquiry. They have so many possibilities for problem solving, how to use the material, how to manipulate it, do we need to change it? The problem solving can come from the social interactions that's happening, to maybe the kind of creations that they're trying to make, and they have different ideas or it keeps falling over. So they provoke that kind of thing. That leads to the collaboration that can happen with intelligent materials. They can build emotional intelligence, because as children are playing and a tower falls over or they're not sure how to do it, they're going to be feeling things while that happens. So these intelligent materials can help naturally develop emotional intelligence and self-regulation to be able to understand what they're feeling, how to be able to problem solve that situation and move forward with it. Now, in the previous video, we talked about curiosity and how you can get into engaged deep learning with that, and that leads to higher level thinking. So combining intelligent materials into your setting will definitely create that. But as before in the last video, we talked about the importance of time that is needed as well. There's opportunities for reflection for the children to be able to reflect on what they've been doing with the objects and what's been happening in their play. And of course, intelligent materials bring so much wonder and joy to children as well. And this is just as important as everything else. We know that children need to feel safe and secure, and part of that is feeling happy and joyful when they're in these spaces. So intelligent materials can help provide that for them as well. So why do they drive curiosity? Well, they provoke originality and discovery. It's about thinking about what the materials could do. It's about seeing beyond what they might be typically used for, being open to that. That's deeply connected to your own mindset as an educator as well. There's intelligent materials have object affordance. So it's about, as I said before, being able to see what the object can do, what it could be. It goes back to that quote that we talked about in the previous video about how it evokes what could exist as well. And intelligent materials, they are dynamic and active, right? We talked about how with loose parts, they need to be transformed and moved around, and they can be manipulated. So this enhances curiosity because it's always changing. Your next steps, I always like to end videos with a little reflective practice, because this is how we really evolve in our own thinking and our mindsets and go deeper into it. I want you to take inventory of the materials that you have in your setting already and reflect on their intelligence. So think about the object affordance. Think about the possibilities that could happen with them. Is our own mindset getting in the way of really embracing the curiosity that can be provoked from these materials? So the second question is, do they provoke curiosity? Do we have enough of these materials as well? Is the possibility conveyed in your setting? So this goes back to, is there enough time to be curious? Curiosity needs deep learning and time to be able to have that. That means they need more space. Is there enough space for them to get into that? And that's also reflected into your image of the child as well. As if we've talked about it, that you believe that children are capable and valued and competent, then the kinds of materials that you provide is reflected into that. So that is how you can convey it in your setting, by making sure that you reflect on the materials that you have and that they showcase your image of the child, so that children can have curiosity-driven spaces with the intelligent materials that you provide. So if you haven't already, I do have a free guide that you can download. It's called the Loose Parts Guide. And it has tons of inventory lists of all the different kinds of possible materials that you could collect and provide into your setting that would bring in that curiosity element. And there's also ways to showcase the learning to parents and to fellow educators inside of this guide as well. And there's lots more resources. So you can get the link for that below this video. So thank you so much for watching. And if you didn't watch the first video on what is curiosity and why do we need it in our programs, I've linked that below as well. And then the next episode is we're going to be talking all about the third teacher. What is the third teacher? How can we set up our third teachers to have curiosity in them even more, like getting to the actual elements that's needed to have a curiosity-driven space as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.